Call of Duty has had a lot of content on the surface to players in the past decade and more that it's been a mainstream title within the gaming world, there's still a lot of stuff that a lot of people probably don't know about. That being stuff that was scrapped either in early development or later in development, but nonetheless never made it into the full game that we play every single November and then throughout the year. So with this one, we're going to be taking a look at, as we've done a couple of times, 5 more weapons that were cut at some point in time across various different games. We're going to be spanning a couple of games here in this episode in particular, but hopefully you guys enjoy not only the information, but also a little bit of a look in as to some of the things that you may never have known existed in a certain particular title at one point. One thing with this list of 5, as with other ones that we've mentioned previously, some of these were planned as to continue the legacy of weapons into another Call of Duty game that they were in the past, but never actually made it up. So if some of these you have heard of completely, it's probably just not in the format or capacity of the specific game we're talking about. But that said, let's jump right into our 5 here at that. And that said, with that explanation out of the way, let's jump in with one of that same characteristic. This being the G3. We know of it from Call of Duty Modern Warfare and now Modern Warfare Remastered in today's time, but it was actually set to be past Modern Warfare in the years that it happened and a little bit further on, because it was initially planned for the release of Modern Warfare 2, but never actually made it to that day. If you take a look at the game files, there's still a lot mentioning this, and there's even screenshots that were debuted from original set work of Modern Warfare 2 gameplay trailers, things like that. In that sort of press release here leading up to the launch of Modern Warfare 2, there was images of soldiers with the G3. Now, of course, once again, there are create a class icons, texture sheets, all that kind of stuff, and even things that attribute different attachments in the game files and the game code, the strings of assets. Those are all there for the G3, but in the final product of Modern Warfare 2, it never ends up being anywhere. So this was subsequently cut, and for what reasoning we don't really exactly know, but nonetheless it's going to kick off this list of 5 weapons. Number 2 follows number 1 in a chronological standpoint, and this coming in Black Ops, and one that you might not necessarily consider in a Black Ops title, this being the Model 1887s in Black Ops. Those, or at least one, was initially planned for Black Ops, but once again never made it to the final product, and we can actually see it in the mission Vorkuta. Unused coding suggests it's also in the missions Payback, Redemption, and Rebirth, with different strings referencing also MP_M1887, showcasing that it was also planned for multiplayer. So if you imagine running around Black Ops and the classic maps over there, with some of the awesome weaponry in that game already, the Model 1887s maybe would have made some people super happy, or maybe really tilted. Now the interesting part is that it's actually usable once again in Vorkuta in the motorbike sequence, but it shoots 2 bullets instead of the 1, in which you have to recock the lever for it. But what's also interesting is that anywhere else that this is mentioned, whether it's via modding or the give all command in the PC console, it is something that everything is almost identical to the Spaz 12. The pickup icon, the fire rate, the 8-round magazine, reload animations, things like that. So it's interesting that this is kind of there for a split second, but also cut in almost every other aspect. But that moves us on to the 3rd one here up on the list, that dealing then with the Rx4 Storm from Black Ops 2. Now this weapon is an entirely different one in and of itself. The last 2 that we touched on were there in some aspects of the game, either that being once again one sliver of a campaign mission or something that was either maybe left over and planned on being brought up but never actually making it. This one was a brand new weapon in itself, but never made it anywhere out of the early development stages of Black Ops 2. It was a cut rifle with honestly not all that much known to it, but there was a menu and a HUD icon that did remain left over in the code that gives players now the ability to check this out and see what it might have looked like. Looking almost like a cross between the Commando and the FAL, I think it would have been interesting to see how this one played out. Obviously, there's not much to go off of, and not all that much that can be said, because none of us have really ever seen any of this in its entirety, because it was nowhere near completion and cut early on in development. But it still strikes the intrigue of not only me, but maybe even you guys as well. But that's gonna bring us into the 4th one within this list, and that is once again something that was planned initially from being carried on the legacy to continue for a certain weapon, this being the fan favorites and awesome weapon, the Commando from Black Ops. This was actually planned on being in Black Ops 2. While there's not all that much that appears in the game code, it does end up having the same pickup icon from the previous game of Black Ops, and that's still in the files, but Where this really became a relevant topic of discussion and where we know it was cut was from a promotional behind-the-scenes trailer for Black Ops 2. In one of the images on one of the screens, you can see that there is a working model of hands with the Commando in between them. And that's something that gives us the most accurate representation of when we can also know that this was cut early on in the development, but also it made it long enough into the development that it was planned to be in there at one point in time. So it could have been, but never actually was. Now, rounding out this episode of 5 cut weapons from Call of Duty, this deals with the AT4. This final one was once again left over from Modern Warfare 2, and that's something we see in the Modern Warfare 2 full game, both multiplayer and in the campaign as well. But in Modern Warfare 3, it was initially planned to be in the game, but never made the cut. And as with the Commando and the G3 that we've mentioned here already, it did make it far enough into the development that some of the promotional stuff ended up showing this off in very brief glances. Within one of the videos that was debuted at E3 of that year, there was a pickup icon for the AT4 that is seen as a player walks over it. And then furthermore, if you take a look at the game files, there's also the cut menu icons and different textures as well that can be found in there. And in one particular mission, that being Persona Non Grata, there's a stinger with an AT4 skin on it that can be seen within that campaign mission. Now, as for the fate of this, it was likely replaced by the SMAW, and this is something that then was cut within Modern Warfare 3 and has not made it back into a major Call of Duty title, excluding COD Online and Call of Duty Heroes for mobile devices. But all that said, that's 5 weapons that you might not have ever known were planned for specific titles. Once again, some of these you probably knew of at some point in time because they were in previous titles, but as for the current builds that we're mentioning in this video in particular, many people may not know that these even exist. So that said, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section down below. How many of you guys knew of these, and if so, how many did you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even all 5? Let me know down in the comment section down below. But that said, hopefully you guys did enjoy, and if you guys did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel as well, make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with everything we have here regarding Call of Duty in general, that including Black Ops 3 with multiplayer and Zombies with Zombies Chronicles, Call of Duty World War 2, both multiplayer and zombies there as well, Modern Warfare Mastered, Infinite Warfare DLC 3 and forward, and all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that is the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But all that said, now we hope you guys on a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching. Mazda Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.